Good morning, everybody. Hello. Welcome to the Get Lit Teen Table Talk podcast. Today is an exciting day. We have a part two and we have a new guest joining us. I hope everybody is having a beautiful morning. This is your host, Evelyn Joy Coker, licensed clinical social worker and coach and therapist to teen girls. It's a beautiful day in Wisconsin. I hope it's beautiful wherever you guys are tuning in from. We're going to get started. So, we have, as always, our wonderful, fabulous co host, Cheyenne. Hey, Cheyenne.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning. And we have returning Olandra Robinson to continue the conversation with us about teen relationships. We could literally do a whole season on teen relationships. But Olandra talked to us last week about her experiences and kind of the things that she learned as a teen and kind of applying to her relationships as an adult. But we have a new guest. I am so excited to introduce. And just like how I met Cheyenne, the way I met Sophia was completely random. But she had such a beautiful spirit and we connected. And I'm so happy to have her join us. Sophia,
Hello.
hey.
Hey.
So, can you start by just introducing yourself to our listeners, telling them a little bit about yourself?
Sure. My name is Sofia Paredes. I'm 18 and I'm from Indiana. I actually met Evelyn when I worked as a waitress at IHOP. Um, I actually don't work there anymore, but I worked there for about 2 years. I graduated high school from a performing arts high school. I was a dance major and I minored in theater. And yeah, I'm very excited to be here.
Thank you. Just a little interesting fact, Olandra graduated from a performing arts school too, and
Oh,
she's a dancer. hmm So, I always have to brag on her. So, please excuse me, everybody. Okay, so once again, we are talking about teen relationships, and I just want to kind of shape, um, the conversation by talking about last week. We talked about um, Olandra's, relationships, right? And we talked about um, again just the journey with from having a relationship when your parents tell you you're not supposed to all the way into adulthood and try to navigate those things. But I do want to let people know that um gender is separate from sexuality, and I want everybody to also understand that just because we're having conversations about boys or girls or whatever, this isn't indicative of all of the beautiful relationships that people can have. And we want this to be a safe space, Get Lit Teens to be a safe space for people to talk about hard stuff as you're trying to figure it out. So if you just self identify with being a teen girl, then this place is for you. If you are questioning your sexuality, this place is for you. So we welcome everybody. Just because I have boyfriends and I have a husband doesn't mean that I expect the world does the same. And so if you feel like the conversations that we're having, that they don't represent you, email me at evelynjoy@getlitteens.com. Tell me your story, and we'll give you this platform to share what you've been through, because I believe every story that we share here can help someone and can potentially save somebody's life. Okay. So I just wanted to kind of set the stage about that and say hello to all of the people that are with us. I see Reese Sky Diva. That's my auntie. Hi, auntie. And I see my other auntie, Jenny. Thank you guys for being here and always supporting. And I see that we have five other listeners. So, whoever you are, good morning. Drop your name in the chat. Say hi to us. We love to know that you're here. And we're going to continue with this conversation. Okay. So, Sophia, can you tell us about the relationships that you've experienced in your teen years?
Well, my teen years actually only consisted of really one relationship. Um, I got into this relationship when I was 14. My partner at the time was 16. I was a freshman in high school, and it wasn't very pleasant at all. It was very mentally, emotionally, and physically abusive. It was very draining. Um, yeah, I mean, when I met this person, I met them on Facebook, and I saw that they went to a high school that was very close to mine.
Mm-hmm.
And we started chatting, and at first I was like, you shouldn't really meet people online, so I kind of just left it alone. Um, but he kept texting me, we had a lot in common. We grew up in similar, similar situations and similar childhood um, situations. So he kind of clicked with me. And so we got to talking, and then we ended up video chatting more. And he came over my house for the first time. And he met my mom and my sister because my dad was not too keen on me dating at all. And my mom was very open to it. She said, as if you want to meet this person, I don't have a problem with it as long as it's in a safe space. You can have your first date in our house. I want to meet this person first. She's all about safety, and I appreciated that. Um, but yeah, the first time I met this person, it went really well. And as time went on, we started dating. It got more serious, and right about into our seventh or eighth month of dating, we started getting into arguments because I had little previous relationships that weren't very serious. I would consider them like little flings. Um, and I am bisexual, and I guess it didn't sit well with him that he was a very jealous person. Um, and that's all fine and well to have a little bit of jealousy. I mean, everybody does. I know I do, but it's not overbearing. But he would ask to go through my phone, and I'm a very introverted person. I like to keep my things private. And we would get into arguments, and he would say, "Well, you're cheating on me, and you won't let me see your phone, so you must be cheating on me. You must have something to hide." And like, no, it's just my privacy. And as time went on, we would get into arguments. And I remember one day he went out with his friend. We were supposed to go to a party together. I wanted to go shopping with him at the mall to find an outfit, kind of match and whatnot. He decided to go with his friend to a little, almost like an arcade that we have around here, and which was really weird for me because he was like constantly on my hip because he was very, like I said, jealous and kind of insecure. So whenever my parents and I went out to go eat, he came with us. Whenever I had a show, he came with us. He was always at my house after school on the weekends. So it was very out of the blue for him not to, want to go to the mall with us.
Mm-hmm.
And so, no, I kind of didn't think much about it. I don't, I'm always a trusting person. And later that day, we always get on the phone at night, and we would always fall asleep on the phone. He was very tired, very exhausted. And it was just kind of weird to me because he's very energetic. About a month later, during that month, he was very distant, very angry all the time. And, I was always trying to make up, like, oh, like, I don't know what I did wrong. I don't know why you're mad at me, but, what can I do to make it better? And I'm very, the way I was brought up, we don't really talk much about our emotions. So my love language is to give people things, to cook for you. Let me buy you this, buy you that. So I'm buying him all these things. I got a job so I can get him things, and I was cooking for him. He was very, very distant. Whenever he would come over, he'd be on his phone, and he would get mad at me for checking my phone every now and then when we were together. So it was very weird. And finally, I'm looking at his phone, and this girl is threatening him, and he had told me about her before, like, oh, this is just my best friend. And like I said, my best friend is a guy. I hang out more with the guys than I do the girls, so I didn't think nothing of it. And she's coming at him, and so finally I'm like, give me the phone, let me talk to her. I don't know what the problem is, but friends shouldn't be fighting like this. And he's like, no, 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 I got it. I'm like, just give me the phone. Let me call her. And so when I'm texting her, I'm like, look, I don't know what you guys got going on in your friendship, but you just need to leave him alone. And she's like, well, stay out of it. It's none of your business. And on top of that, he's keeping a big secret from you. I'm like, what secret? And she's like, let me text you. And he's like, oh, just block her. It's nothing, leave it alone. I'm like, no, what does she have to say? I'm not really confrontational. I don't do all that back and forth. So she sends me screenshots of her, his friend that he went out with that day I went to the mall, and him talking about, their first time losing their virginity. And I'm like, okay, friends have weird conversations, whatever. And then as I'm reading the messages, she says, I want my special time to be with a special person, and it already happened. And he's in this group chat. And I was like, okay. And I'm reading, and then he responds with, well, maybe you should just shut up about it because people don't need to be knowing that. And then his friend goes, oh, so that's what you guys are doing when I was over there. And I connect the dots, and I'm like, wow. Wow.
So how long had you all been together when that happened?
We had been together for about 8 months, and I had actually lost my virginity to him when I was 14.
Okay.
So yeah, and that was, I mean, I was sitting here and I was like, didn't want to believe it. And we were actually in the car. My dad had took me and him to drop him off at home. And I'm looking at the phone and I'm like, there's no way. And then I remembered that day he didn't go with us to the mall. And then I looked at him, I go, is this for real? And he's like, I don't know why you're going to believe her. She's only in the 8th grade. I'm like, she's in 8th grade. 8th grade. He goes, she's a child, F her, she's just a liar. She just wants to get a rise out of you and mess up our relationship. And I'm like, but she has evidence to back it up. What are you going to lie to me for? And we get to his house. He gets out, and I'm yelling. I don't normally cry. It's not something, my family, nobody really cries. We just get really angry, and we just yell. And so I'm yelling, and his dad is watching from the window, and I'm like, you know what? I'm done. You cheated on me. There's no forgiving that. And I give him his phone. I throw it on the lawn, and I go to get back into the front seat, and he starts grabbing me by my wrists, and he won't let me move anywhere. And so my dad gets angry, and but my dad taught me how to fight, so he's like, you know what? If I hit a minor, I'm going to jail. And he's like, my dad kind of stayed in the car, and kind of just watched to see if he were to hit me. Because if he were to hit me, my dad's going off. But he's grabbing my wrist, and he's like, "You're not going anywhere. We need to talk this out." I'm like, "What is there to talk about? You cheated on me. It's not like you just kissed somebody or you just hugged her, and you went out of the way." And I'm like, "You cheated on me, man. Like, I don't need this." And so he's pushing me, and he's like pushing me back towards the house, to his house. And so finally I just hit him in his throat, and he's falling on the floor, and I get in the car and I leave. And I go home, and his friend starts threatening me to shoot up my house because of whatever reason. It made no sense to me. And I'm like, it doesn't involve you at all. He's like, well, I don't like you anyways, and I don't care that he cheated on you. I'm like, I didn't ask you to. So about 3 months go by. Long story short, we get back together because I was very attached, and I connected with him really well. And like I said, we came from the similar backgrounds. So I felt very alone, and I had just turned 15, so I was still a child and very insecure. So here I was trying to find out, how could I be better for him so he would, want me, which was, I mean, you shouldn't do that. You should be happy with yourself. And my friends are telling me, Sophie, he's gonna cheat on you again. Don't do that. Like, because I was all friends with upperclassmen. I was a new little freshman. Like, I'm a little kid still, and they're like, Sophie's gonna cheat on you again. It's just gonna hurt you even more. And all my guy friends, because they're all guys. All my friends are guys, and they're like, come on, guy to guy. He's a guy. Like, he's just gonna cheat on you again. If he's cheating on you, it's only 8 months into your relationship. He goes, how many more times has he done something like this? And he just got caught. I'm like, you know what? You're right. But I don't know. I just want to try again. And, if he does it again, I'm done. No. So, everything's going good for about 2 months. It's now July, and I get the opportunity to go to Harvard for a week and take classes and be on campus, and it was a great opportunity. But I would have to go to Boston, and I was very nervous because I was very insecure, and I was nervous that he was going to cheat on me again. And I didn't want to go because our relationship was getting better. Excuse me. And our relationship was getting better. He was communicating more, and I was thinking, it's not going to be like that anymore. Why would he do that again? He says he loves me. He was talking to my mom about how to make things better. I screwed up, and I was like, you know what? We're young. Maybe he's older than me. He's 17 now. He could probably mature. No. I go to Harvard, and he calls me every night. He's texting me throughout the day. And then the call started to stop. And he would tell me, oh, I'm on the phone with my uncle or my cousin. I'm like, all night? Mm-hmm. Who's on the phone with their uncle from 7 o'clock at night to 8 o'clock in the morning. It's a little weird. I mean, not necessarily weird, but who talks to their uncle that long?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, especially when you have a girlfriend who you so-called love so much, all the way in Boston. I mean, wouldn't you want to make her feel more comfortable? I mean, she's all alone.
Mm-hmm.
No, he stopped calling me, and I'm kind of like, something's going on. I just felt it in my gut. I get back. The rest of July goes by, no problems. A little arguing here and there about my insecurities, and I'm like, you know what? No, if you want to see my phone, you can see my phone, but I gotta see your phone. You know, there goes my hypervigilance, and it's really unhealthy and very tiring and exhausting when you're in a relationship where you're so insecure and you don't know what the other person is doing all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and August rolls around, and my mom has a conference that she goes to in Chicago. She gets a hotel room. She's a probation officer for juveniles. So it's a gang research program. So they talk about gangs, stuff like that. And me and my sister normally go with her to help with paperwork, help with registration, all that. And my mom's like, we got a pretty big room. It was a room. It's got like the living area and then a bedroom. It's
Go
got that
sleep.
door, food. Yeah. And she goes, you could bring your boyfriend with. I'm like, really? That's cool. Like, okay. I brought him with, and at first he didn't want to go, which was weird to me. I'm like, you get this suite in Chicago, you're not paying anything for 3-4 days. Why not? Why wouldn't you want to go? You don't got to do anything. It's not like we're in school right now. So I was like, He's like, well, you got to talk to my mom. Like, you never actually talk to your mom about anything that we do. So I'm like, whatever. I mean, I talked to his mom, and she says yes. And he's like, are you sure, Ma? Like, are you sure? I'm like, what? Like, he
Mm.
gave you like full permission to go with me, catch a train. He goes, but Ma, like there's weird people on the train. She goes, boy, you're 17. You telling me you can't go on a train by yourself? They're paying for the ticket. What? Like I was paying for everything for him at this time. So it kind of threw me off. But the first night he came, no problems. He got to meet everybody there. Because I'm more friends with adults than I am kids my own age, which some people find weird. So he got to meet all my kind of like friends, and they're like, "Oh, your boyfriend seems nice." I'm like, "Yeah," but so I mean, we're getting. My mom would let us hang out on the couch that was there, and when it was time for bed, when she was ready to go to bed, she's like, come to my side of the room. Just makes me feel more comfortable. I'm like, yeah, no problem. And so we're sitting watching TV, and he gets a Snapchat. And I didn't think anything of it. Like at this point, I'm like, he hasn't really done anything else, so I'm like, I'm not gonna worry about it. He goes to the bathroom, I'm like, hey, can I take some pictures on your Snapchat? He's like, oh, wait a minute. I'm like, what? And he's like, well, I just want to, use my phone while I'm in the bathroom. I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. And so he gets out of the bathroom, like, so can I see your Snap? Like, let's take some pictures. You don't really have any pictures of me on your Snapchat.
Turn left. Then your destination will be on the left.
Sorry.
So, I taking pictures on Snapchat, just messing around with the at the time. And this name that's very familiar pops up. And I look at it, and she was somebody that I used to talk to. And I was like, I wouldn't consider her an ex, but like a crush that I had. And I just like, should I look at it? Why not? Whatever. So I read the message, and it's a nude. And I was like, okay. Wow. And so I started scrolling up because he saved the messages. And she's asking him, what time when do you come back home? I thought you were going to be home all week. And he's like, oh, I come back Wednesday, then I'll be able to come over.
Like, so he was cheating on you with her?
Cheating on me with a new girl.
Oh wow.
Yes. Who was also younger than me.
So was this a cycle throughout your whole relationship with him?
Yes. Yep. And shortly after that, he started getting pain in his back. And when he would use the restroom, there'd be blood in his urine. And he thought he had a UTI. So my parents, them being Hispanic, they have little remedies or whatever. So they're like, oh, drink this. This has gotten rid of a couple UTIs. So you don't have to go to the doctor. He didn't have enough money or whatnot to go to the doctor and stuff like that. His mom was not very good with taking care of her kids either. So we find out eventually when he goes to the doctor, he has chlamydia. And so now he texts me while I'm in school and lets me know, hey, I cheated on you. I'm like, yeah, I know that. Like, we had an argument about that in the hotel. I'm aware of that you're cheating on me, that you cheated on me. And at the hotel, I was like, you know what? Like, I don't want anything to do with you. So we took another break, and this is when he tells me, while we're trying to fix our relationship again, he tells me this, and I'm like, so now you're telling me I gotta get tested? Like, well, I mean, yeah, I was sexually active. I'm like, but my mom doesn't know that I am. How am I supposed to tell my mom? And me and my mom didn't really have a relationship like that. I don't have a relationship. I didn't have a close relationship with either of my parents, especially not my dad. He was very abusive, and kind of my boyfriend at that time was very manipulative and very maybe very insecure. And I started seeing similarities, and like, how am I gonna tell my parents? Oh, by the way, he told me this on my 16th birthday. Yeah, my 16th birthday. Oh, by the way, I gave you chlamydia. Like, how am I supposed to tell my parents? Hey, mama, by the way, I'm sexually active. Oh, and I might have an STD. How do you have a conversation with your parent who you're not close to at all? I was like, so she picked it. So I have a full on breakdown.
Oh, we have a question here, Sophia. The question is, so is Sophia still in this relationship? What has she learned about herself from being in this relationship, and things to do and not to do going forward? That's a great question.
So no, I'm no longer in this relationship. It took me a long time to get out, actually, until my senior year of high school to get out. I think what I took from this relationship is to keep an eye out for red flags, going forward with any relationship and really get to know the person. I don't jump into relationships anymore. I get to know the person. I like to develop a friendship first and see how this person is before I have to get into a relationship. And what have I learned about myself? I think learning about myself is I still have had trouble with that. I'm still very insecure. I still I'm a lot more angry than I used to be. Um, I'm very cautious. I don't really open up, so I'm still um, very scarred from this relationship. I can't. I'm actually going back to counseling to kind of because this past relationship is starting to affect my relationship now, and it's a really good relationship that I am in now, and I don't want to mess things up because of my past with this person. But yeah.
So we have another comment. This is more of a comment. We all need to learn and know our worth. That is so good. Show people how to treat us and value ourselves. You can't give yourself to any and everyone who don't deserve it. Loving ourselves is our most valuable asset.
Yes.
Yeah. Cheyenne, what are your thoughts? I've seen several facial expressions from you.
You know, I'm really bad with my facial expressions. Like, you gonna know how I feel based on looking at my face. And, you know, I was just giving things away. But before I talk about anything, there's a phrase talking about don't throw your pearls to swine. And that ties into perfectly what Reese just said. But Sophia, wow. You got a story to tell, my friend. And, you know, believe it or not, I can relate too. We weren't dating, but I had an entanglement from freshman year to my senior year of high school. And that was draining within itself. And like cheating and lying, manipulation, the whole 9 yards. I can go on about it, but just wow. Like how were you able to get through that without like breaking down?
I mean,
you did break down. Like how?
I was breaking down about every night, you know, like thinking that it was my fault. Because it's like, you know, I'm not skinny enough. The girls who cheated on me were a lot thinner, more curvier, had bigger, you know, butts. And I'm like, you know, I'm chunky, round, and short. And these girls are so pretty, and they're curvy, and they have, you know, nice figures. They have pretty boobs. I don't have boobs, and it's like, you know, I'm very insecure, and I was breaking out a lot more, and these girls had clear faces. But then I had to remember, you know, they're like 12. You know,
right?
He's cheating on me with like 12-year-olds, and
so what does that say about him?
Exactly, and I'm like, he's a little bit of a predator, and you know, the more I looked at it, and I was like, you know, like I knew it wasn't a good relationship for me, but my attachment at that time and all the other things that I was going through with my family life has never been. I mean, I come from a strong family, but at the same time, my family has all my family members are very stubborn and very, you know, I'm not the problem, you're the problem. I can't do anything wrong. It's you. You need to fix this, so maybe you won't make me do this. And you know, it's like, so I applied that to my relationship, and it's like, you know, you can't do that. I'm like, you know, it's not your fault. You know, just because, you know, you're not this, and that doesn't mean it's okay for him to do A, B, and C. And it took me forever to be able to apply that to that relationship. And I actually just stayed in it and dealt with it. This was a person I was so attached to when I broke up with them. And I was like, this is it. I'm done. And they got into a new relationship. It completely killed me. I lost about 45 pounds. I stopped eating. I was crying, so I was very dehydrated. I wasn't focusing in school. I developed a drug addiction, and I'm like, I need this person. I need this person. And it's like, you don't need this person. They're not good for you. look at how it's, taking a toll on you. And so it's like, it, it sucked. And I mean, in a way, I'm not glad that it happened, but if I didn't go through this very difficult time in my life, I don't think I would have become more strong willed and like very. I am stubborn, but like back then I wasn't as stubborn as I am now, and it's like, all my morals went completely out the window. Um, And now, because before I got into this relationship, I was like, this is what I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to do it. You can't make me do anything that I'm not going to want to do. That went completely out the window.
Mm. Oh, we have a good question here. Sophia, if you can start completely over at the age of 14, do you think you date so early? Will you allow your daughter to date at 14? That question is from Jacqueline.
If I could start completely over, I I would still date. I was dating younger than 14, um, mostly with females, but that was my first male relationship.
Mm.
And I don't think I would change the fact that I dated him. I would change the fact that I stayed, because it was a good lesson to learn about people who cheat. And I mean, my parents didn't want me dating. That just only made me want to date more. I think with my daughter, I would say, you know what, if you want to date, go ahead, but just don't be afraid to tell me anything that's happening, whatever you feel comfortable telling me, or that what you're going through. I'm not gonna get mad at, because my mom was a very angry woman. Whenever you pissed her off, she went off, and it's like that didn't help me, because that just made me want to keep everything to myself and fix it. And it's like, no, I mean, if my daughter is in a similar relationship, I'm gonna say, look, this is what happened to me. Be open minded. I'm not going to tell you not to see this person, because that doesn't do anything. You just only want to see that person more. 'Cause, I mean, at that age, you're very, very rebellious. At least I was. But I would just let my daughter know that nothing she does will make me upset with her. You know,
Yeah. Oh, we have a very nice comment. Good morning, all. Hi, Bianca. Good to see you here. She says, Sophia, you are so brave to share your story. We are not our mistakes. And that is so true. Thank you for that comment, Bianca. Olandra, I want to get you in here as the 20 something, right? So you've experienced the teen relationships and you've also come out and kind of applied some of your life lessons to your adulthood. And as you're still trying to figure it out, what would you say to Sophia now to help her um continue to heal from that relationship and make sure that some of the trauma that she experienced there doesn't continue to negatively impact the relationship that she's in now. You,
First, I want to say sorry if my background is loud, but one thing that I would start off with is, a lot of times we create different soul ties or connections with people. Um, and a lot of times we can create unhealthy ones too. And I think it's good to realize, at a young age with dating, I think one of the fears that parents have with their kids dating early is that, those relationships and that other person can change who you are. And that can kind of, take a hold of you and push you in a different direction. So I think that's the concern for parents. And like I said a little bit last week, I would always, when I have kids, I will encourage my kids to, be able to have those relationships, but let them know, I do want you to have certain boundaries and be able to, be comfortable to talk with me with anything. Um, But I think for you, Sophia, I think it's good that you realize, that you wouldn't take back those situations, because I think that they are important that you went through them, you worked a lot. And I think it's good, as you're continuing to, still feel those feelings and go through everything to realize, that, it was a lesson, a learning lesson, and, really learn from it. And take time, to sit with yourself and see, what are the things that, you may have been going through that have made you feel uncomfortable, about yourself, or your esteem, self-esteem. Was it him? Was it already prior affected? What do you think those things could come from? Could it be just, different relationship dynamics with your parents? I think it's good, to start thinking about those things so you can kind of pinpoint that. And I think if you realize that a lot of those things came from that relationship, um, I don't know if it did or not, but if it did, I think just realizing that and knowing that, other people's opinions don't, define who you are, and just really, learn to love yourself, because, you like the way that we are now, it's how we're gonna be. We have this body. Um, we can make, alterations and changes to it, but, even, we see in the media with a lot of people getting different surgeries and stuff, that can be very unhealthy and dangerous and it can go wrong, So I think it's just really important to learn to love yourself and to cherish yourself, because nobody else is out there who looks like you, thinks like you, like nobody can do it how you can do it. So I think it's important to know that. And just moving forward, I think, having those kind of relationships so young and exploring, your sexuality so young, can be good in a way because it can get you, ahead of the game as far as, knowing the signs to stay away from certain individuals or certain situations. But it also can, in a way be detrimental because, it changes your outlook on things. It takes, a piece of that, innocence from you. In a lot of ways, I think that you may not notice yet, even still. But since you have experienced that, just learn from everything. Things that have changed within yourself because of that too. You say now you might feel more angry, but just whenever you are in those moments of anger or however you're feeling, just remember to be like, this is not myself. This is not in my character. This may not be, the type of, characteristics that I want to give off, and just take a few minutes to calm down, breathe, and to think, this is not me. Why am I letting something else, take over me?
Right.
So yeah.
Alondra, you talked about loving yourself, and one of the comments we had was about self-worth. And, I think self-esteem is something that most teen programs talk about with girls and stuff, right? But sometimes it can still feel so abstract. Like, what does that mean? Love myself. Um, so talk about that a little bit more, both, Alondra and Cheyenne. Like, what does it mean to love myself more or to know my worth more? Because I'm 14 and I don't even know myself yet. So how do I love what I don't know?
So when I was really going through things with like my mental health in high school, like junior year or whatever, I had a conversation with my aunt and I was just thinking about it. She was like, how can you love other people when you can't love yourself?
Mm,
So that forever changed because like I used to be terrible to myself. I didn't like who I was. I didn't like Cheyenne. I didn't like younger Cheyenne. It was horrible. I was in torment. I couldn't look at myself in the mirror. I would start crying. I was so dissatisfied with so many things. But I had to, check myself. I was like, okay, I love my friends. I treat them good. I love my family. I love all these other people, but it's like I can't give myself the same in return. So that's when I had to change and shift the narrative and, start loving on myself, being nicer to myself, giving myself slack, giving myself grace. And then that's where I formed a better relationship with myself and like boosting my self-esteem, knowing that, like Alondra said, can't nobody do it like you. There's no one out here that looks like me, thinks like me, walks like me, talks like me. So I got to keep reminding myself that day in and day out.
Mm-hmm. Alondra, what do you think? What does self-love really look like?
Um, I think it's probably different for each person. And even still, I think in my younger years, I don't think I was aware of, that self-love. And I think I was an individual who was always wanting to help others. So I was kind of like worried about others, how do they feel, or do they feel that I love them? And so now I feel like I'm getting more into, well, what do I want? How do I feel? How does, this affect me? And I think, being a young teen girl, it really just starts, with the foundation of your parents. If you don't have that type of, parental support, um, these are the type of things like this podcast or things, I think that are helpful. But just really, being able to just be still, I think, and sit with yourself and your own thoughts. Being able to get in your head and, figure out the different desires or passions that you might have, um, and just everything that you like, and the people around you, how do the people around you make you feel? Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I think it's just about just, taking time to learn yourself and being in that space. Now that takes a lot of time, I think, and a lot of different experiences, for you, I guess, to go on your journey to learn how to like do that over time. But just being able to just sit back and be like, hey, like everything that I do in my life, is this benefiting me? Are these people that I have in my life, are they, emotionally, physically, whatever, are they helping me? Are they a benefit to my life? Are they a positive? Are they not weighing me down? Um, those kind of things is kind of like how to start that self-love.
Yeah, we have a comment. Self-love is an ever-evolving thing as we continue to explore yourself and grow. And that's so true. Cheyenne, I love the comment that your auntie made. And I told you guys that when I was younger, my parents would say, "You ain't in love. You don't know what love is,"
Mhm.
uh and I still disagree with that, even as an adult now. But your aunt, I love how she framed it. It wasn't so much, taken away from, your belief that you loved at that age, but more so encouraging you to look at yourself, and are you loving yourself? And I think that ties in very well to what Alondra just said, and even how you treat yourself. And so I tell girls, when I'm talking about self-compassion, for example, treat yourself like you would your best friend,
Right.
you know and I mean, I had to do that to myself yesterday, because
Mm,
I'm at the end of my semester for school, and I was having a moment.
yeah.
But I thought about all of the encouraging things I would say to my best friend if she was going through something. And that's
Mm,
just an example of how you can treat yourself and show yourself, like Cheyenne just said, more grace and love and just compassion. It's hard out here.
it
And
is.
the developmental stage is like none other. That is really when you are starting to try to figure out who you are.
Hmm.
And so you're trying to figure that out in the midst of a relationship. Like, Sophia, I'm so proud of you. I was holding my breath because I thought you were going to say you did not go to Harvard because of that boy.
Right.
And I was thinking to myself, like, would I have gone? And
Right.
I didn't go through any of what you described. You know what I'm saying? So I won't even to pretend like my teen relationship, like I had drama, but not on that level. But I think, I don't know if I would have gone. And that's why I really try to promote, like, I'm okay with, and I don't even think I've ever explicitly said this to you, Alondra. I get teen relationships. I was in one too. My whole high school, one boy. I've literally, at almost 40, only had 3 boyfriends, and one of them is now my husband. You know what I'm saying? But when you're in that stage of trying to figure things out, you put so much into the relationship that you're in that you forget to nurture yourself. You forget that you're trying to find yourself. And that's more so what I don't want and didn't want for Olandra, to get lost in a relationship, right? So I'm more into, have friends, you know, explore you, because you may like the boy or the girl Monday, and by Friday they may be on your nerve, and you may want you another little boy or girl, and then you didn't hurt somebody because you broke up with them because you don't like them no more, but you didn't know what you liked yet.
Right.
So, you know, I don't even remember what my whole point was about that.
I agree, but
But I
I
just
agree with
appreciate
that
your
statement.
comments.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Olandra.
Yeah, I was saying I agree with that statement. I think a lot of, parents should say, have friends. But I think as a teen, preteen, you hear that all you hear is, you can't date, don't date. And that makes you just enticed more. So I think, but explaining it in that way where it's like, it's okay, but you know, be open to having these friends. And that is very impactful, I think. Yeah.
So we have another question. What's a good relationship? So thinking back from your teen perspective. So Alondra, you're out of your teen. Sophia and Cheyenne, they're at the end. What do we want to let girls know is a good, healthy relationship?
Um, I would say a relationship where you're able to be your authentic self. Like, I'm on
Mm.
social media a lot, and I see like these videos where, you know, if when you get really excited about something, you start yelling, you get really giddy, and then the person just shuts you down. Like, why are you getting so excited? Like, so that has happened to me before. Like, I can't show my full excitement or emotion, or I would just like get completely shot down. Also, a relationship where you can talk about anything and everything and it's not considered an argument. Like, just
Mm.
because there's a difference of opinion or I see something differently does not necessarily mean I'm arguing or I'm trying to start something or rile you up. I'm just, giving my view, giving my take. Also, look out for those red flags. Like, sometimes they're so obvious, sometimes they're really subtle, but a red flag is a red flag.
Yeah.
I think for
Sophia.
me, um, me being the type of person who was very active in arts, I would get from my partner at the time. I would get the you know, it's a waste of time. You're so tired. Why are you continuing doing this? You're tired. You just should not do that. And it's like at the time, dancing was my passion. And I think having a partner that supports you regardless of what you're doing. I mean, now the partner that I have supports me no matter what I'm doing. If they don't think it's a good idea, they'll say, hey, I know you're going to do this, but can I just say, I think you should do it like this? It's just a suggestion, but I think this would be a better route to go with doing what you're going to do. And I'm going to support you either way, no matter what you decide to do. I just want the best for you. And I would say jealousy in a relationship is also a very, very can be very toxic. I mean, people get jealous. It's completely normal as a human being to get jealous every now and then, but learning to know the difference between okay jealousy and toxic jealousy would be very different. My ex at the time would not let me hang out with any of my friends. they would say, I have to go with you. You can't hang out with them. That's a boy. I'm like, dude, I like girls more than guys. You know, you're worried about the wrong gender. And like having that trust with your partner is something that is so healthy and so relieving now that, you know, I don't have the constant headache of like, if I do this, are they gonna get mad? If I do this, you know, are we gonna argue later? So now it's just like, you know, communication also saying, hey, you know, I'm gonna go here with my friend. Just want to let you know this is the time I'm gonna get home. If you need me or anything, you know, call me, text me. You know, being able to communicate with your partner provides such a good foundation for your relationship. Being able to talk to one another and being able to trust one another. And I'm glad that my insecurities from my old relationship didn't carry on into my previous relationship because now, I mean, my boyfriend now will go out to his friend's house at like 7, not come home till 3 in the morning. I sleep with no problem because I know that he's gonna text me, "Hey, sorry I'm late, but you know we're just talking, we're doing whatever." And his friend, I don't care for his friend. You know, a couple of other his friends tried to get him to cheat on me, and he's like, "No," you
Wow.
know. And is he still friends with those people? Yeah. Does it bother me? No, because I know that he has formed his own opinion and he told his friend before, you know, this is my girlfriend. This is the person I want to be with. I don't care that you don't like her. She's mine and I'm gonna respect her no matter what you think. And it's like seeing that and knowing that is will help your partner and you be able to go further in your relationship. And I think
That's
that trust, communication, and support are and respect on top of that, which goes with trust and communication, are all really good things to have in the foundation of a relationship. Because without those, my relationship now would be a mess. I mean, there's so many things that you know me and my partner cannot agree on, but because you know we've come from similar backgrounds, we're able to apply those lessons and talk about things. I mean, sure, in the moment, you know, we yell at each other, we get mean, and we're very, like I said, we're very angry people because we come from similar backgrounds and our trauma and our all of that, you know, carries through. And we both know that we need to work on that. But after all that, we're able to sit down and be like, look, you know, the one thing we both have trouble with is apologizing, and we're aware,
mm,
but we're both able to say, look, you know, I was wrong. We never
yeah.
say I'm sorry because it's both the thing that we're both very stuck on.
You
And
know what? But that's something that I see even adults.
mhm,
So not to minimize your 18
yeah,
grown self, but I think that's just a difficulty for a lot of people being able to say I'm sorry and really owning whatever they did. So I think that's a lesson that we can, everybody can take from that. But
and it's even
we're
hard
running out of time.
for especially.
Go ahead,
Go
finish
ahead.
that thought, Sophia. I was just saying we're running out of
I
time.
was gonna say, and even now, it's always hard for me to admit that I'm wrong. He's better at doing that than I am. But like I
Mm,
said, that having that patience and communication is really good for a relationship.
yes. So, Olandra, I want to ask you to close us out with the final question as our 20 something big sister kind of person right now. Sophia's story was packed with a lot of things, a lot of, I would say, things that could traumatize a young person. She talked about that physical, that emotional, and mental abuse from a partner, constant insecurity, and how that can chip away at your self-esteem and your self-worth. Leading to an addiction. And I want to leave something with girls who are listening that may be in similar situations that don't feel like they can tell their parents. You know, sometimes I tell girls, give your parents a try. You never know how they'll respond. But then there's some parents, you do know how they'll respond because maybe you've tried and it didn't work. So we don't want our girls to sit in silence if they're experiencing those things. Alondra, what would you tell them to do? Who would you tell them to reach out to if they're dealing with intimate partner violence, addiction, self-esteem issues, or anything of that nature? You're
You're on.
muted.
Sorry. I would say find a trusted individual who is um, not far from your age. Um, whether, that could be whether, if you're in high school and, you have a fellow friend who might be a senior, or maybe you have a friend, could find a friend or a mentor who is, in college. I would say look for someone who is um, kind of like on the cusp of where you're heading, and talk to them and get their point of view from their age range. I think a lot of the time, as teens, we think uh, the world is ending, and these things will last forever. But just remembering that, it is a period, a time in our life where different things can happen, and it won't last forever. But uh, those situations can have effects on people that can last forever. So I think it's always to remember that. Um, but yeah, just find someone, someone who can give you some guidance that's not just a peer, that can help you overall and give you advice, and listen to you. So that's what I would say. Yeah.
That's really good. And even on top of that, there are so many anonymous phone numbers you can call if you need to talk to somebody. If you're still in high school, you can talk to your school counselor. If you're in college, they have mental health services. But I agree that sometimes talking to a peer that's a step above where you are, can be helpful in giving perspective, right? But you also want to make sure that you include some type of professional assistance in there, because if you're dealing with addiction, you
Mhm.
know that's changed the composition of your body. You need to talk to a professional for that. I love that Sophia talked about getting counseling, and I love that in you all's generation it's even more normalized than in mine. It's so helpful. It does not mean you are quote unquote crazy. And we all just need somebody to help us sort through things and get through the hard stuff. And that's what I want Get Lit Teens to be. And even though I'm a licensed clinical social worker, I'm one person. I have a squad of people, but there are also other resources outside of Get Lit Teens. So, um, you know, this was really, again, thank you, Sophia, for sharing your story, and Alondra, what you shared with us, because this is the number one topic that I found that some girls don't feel comfortable talking to their parents about. And like you all kind of said, your parents can tell you not to do something. That doesn't mean you're not going to do it. And a lot of times we think as teenagers, we can figure it out on our own. And it doesn't matter how mature you are, how resourceful you are, there are still some things that you need help with. And even though parents may not explain so much why we don't want you all to do certain things, there's a reason, because of your developmental capacity. And so just make sure that you always get support. But for all of our girls that's listening, um, you're not alone. There's always at least one person that can help you, and you'll be surprised to find even more in your life. So I loved talking to y'all today about this
Yeah,
issue.
it was fun.
um Thank you to everybody who listened. Please make
Yes.
sure that you check us out on social media. Get Lit Teens. We're on Instagram, we're on Facebook. We have the Get Lit Teens YouTube channel where you can catch the videos of the podcast. We about to
Mhm.
be on TikTok. as
Yes,
soon as
get
we
ready.
figure it out. Please
ready.
find us on Spotify, Google
Yes.
Podcasts. If you have any of those things, please follow us and subscribe us and just share. If you don't do anything else today, please share this podcast with one teen and one parent that you know. Join us next week. We will be talking about stress. Stress during teen life, okay? And so we would love to see you next week. Thank you for your support. Have a beautiful Saturday, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.